Hey everyone, my name is Peyton and this is a short tutorial showing how to set up some simple particles inside of Unreal Engine. I'm specifically going to be doing something that is basically like a water coming out of a pipe or so. This can be really easy to accomplish just with the basic templates that we already have inside of Niagara, but let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go down here and inside of this folder, I'm going to go ahead and right click and we want to go to the effects panel. I'm going to actually create a Niagara emitter. So the Niagara system is the editor inside of Unreal Engine for particles. It was previously called Cascade, but in late Unreal Engine 4, I believe, and then Unreal Engine 5, it's called Niagara. But it's a really awesome editor in general, being able to allow you to make all kinds of different particles. And the great thing is, as we can see here, it has some actual starter information and just particles if there's something that we want to start off with. So, and with that, I probably do actually want to start off with something somewhat similar to what I've done in a previous video where I actually used the fountain for a smoke and trying to build a smoke from that. I'm going to use the fountain for this as well and basically show a couple of things that we can do with the fountain overall to get our gravity working and a much better look towards some water. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create here. So this is going to make our emitter. I'm going to rename it to, let's say, water, maybe spray. And of course, similar to previous video, one thing that I wanted to mention is that, emitters can't be dragged into the level. When you place a particle inside of the level, it has to be the particle or the Niagara system. And so the difference between these two, if you look at the little star icon, I think it's a good representation as well. But this is basically like a child and this is a parent. So you can only have like one emitter inside of the Niagara emitter, but inside of a Niagara system, you can have multiple emitters. So you can basically, if you're building out like a fire, so you could have your fire, your smoke, and your embers all in one system and be able to place that throughout the level. But the emitters themselves are the individual parts of the particles. So I'm going to start here, and we could go and actually click the Niagara system, but instead what I'm going to do is actually right click on the water spray, and up here you'll see that we can actually create a Niagara system using that as our base like emitter. So I'm going to do that, and then now we have a water spray system. So if I double click this, just like how if we double click the other one though, it would pull up the fountain, and you can see here inside of the Niagara editor we have all of our sort of settings, features, and everything like that. But before I actually dive into that real quick, I do want to get this actually in game. So now that it is a system, this one specifically, I can actually drag that into game, and now we can see that we have this sort of fountain, which is working out pretty well. And with the fountain itself, it is using gravity. So if I rotated it, and let's say go 90 degrees, it's already sort of giving that water sort of spray look that we might be looking for, which is cool. So, you know, with a couple of tweaks, we'd probably be able to get a pretty decent look out of this. I'm just gonna go and place it in these two different locations, and we'll adjust it accordingly, just based off of these like pipe shapes and stuff. So there we go, we have our particle in here. Let's go back and actually open it back up. So I'm going to go into here, and with this particle, what we're going to do is the Niagara editor here, we can see top left, this is our viewport, so we can see the particle itself, and of course it's currently playing because down here on the timeline we can see it's basically running through the lifetime of the particle. So basically coinciding with each other there. Down here we have certain parameters and all for the particle system, and then up here in the actual grid, or the layout and the and then up here actually in the graph we can see that it has two little nodes. So this one here is for the system overall. It's the system's properties and settings, and then this one is specifically our water spray. So that's that emitter that we brought in, but since we created it from the emitter itself, it already brought it in for us. but you could actually drag and drop in emitters and have them all in here together. But once I click on this, of course, we'll get our additional details panel. If I just click overall, it's going to bring up all of them, or I can click on individual parts of this particle to, of course, get some of those further details. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and start to, basically try to edit this a little bit more and get the look that we might be going for with it. So one thing certainly with it, if we're trying to go for more of like a water spray, right now it's a very sort of large shape, so I definitely want to bring that down. So I'm going to look for the inside of my emitter specifically. There is the particle spawn, the particle update area, and so a lot of these attributes up here are kind of the initial part of the particle, like when it's created. And then with the particle update, generally that's where you can add stuff for as the lifetime of the particle goes on. Does it change? Does it change color or change like the size or anything else? And that's where you can actually see the gravity force. So you can see that it's spraying upwards, but then over its lifetime, the gravity actually starts to bring it back down. We'll probably leave that there, but if I turn that off, of course, you would see that it's just going to spray straight up. So, but what we're going to do is go and find the initial size. So I'm going to look underneath initialized particle and should be able to find the uniform sprite size. So it's a 6 and 12 min max. Let's drop that down to something like a 2 and 4. And that's already kind of looking like, almost like a sprinkler or something, which is cool. So yeah, maybe we check out what that looks like in game. Cool. Still probably a little bit too big, so I'm gonna go 1 and 2.5. So there we go. Yeah, it's not too bad. And so now we have the size a bit smaller. Couple of other things that we can do certainly is we could also probably bring down this color. So you can see here that there's an actual color inside of here. So as we adjust that, we're getting different sort of colors with this picker. But I probably do want it to be less bright overall. You can see that it's also using the alpha from this. So as I turn it all the way down to like black, it's actually kind of removing the particle. And then if it's white, it's very blown out. So the transparency is almost like being affected by the color as well. And that works well for what we're wanting in this case, like so far. So I'm gonna hit OK, and let's see, it's looking pretty good so far. And the reason why, of course, like a lot of the new Niagara systems, they're starting to add in like actual fluid simulations and stuff as plugins that you can use. What's nice about this method instead of using something like that is that we are still trying to keep it more game ready, a bit more optimized. And yeah, particles can be expensive, but overall, with our current ratio, just the amount of like material and everything else kind of going into this one, it's far cheaper than what a like fluid simulation would be. So game ready, I would say this is a much better kind of look and just direction to try to keep your levels and overall environments optimized. So what we're going to do now with this is, I think I do need more water though. This might work for the smaller one, but I definitely feel like the bigger one's certainly going to need more of that. So there's a couple of places that we can kind of check in. So here there is the lifetime mana max. There's the scale, but we probably want the amount. So I might go to spawn rate, and right now it's basically saying 90 like sprites are being like turned on or activated at every second, and then there is a lifetime of I think 1.5 seconds on average. So that's where we're actually getting that number of about 150. So if I doubled this spawn rate, every single second like one's being created, or 90 is being created, that means that if I like doubled it and then we go to like 180, then that means that now 180 every second is being created. We'll see that this is going to go up from 150 to 300. And so that's still somewhat reasonable, I would say. The main thing is definitely as you increase your lifetime, of course, that means that the same amount are still being created every single second, but the ones aren't like previously that have been created aren't dying as fast. So you're having a lot more on screen. So that's where it can really get expensive. If we did like a 3 to 6, now you can see that it's getting, yeah, way further up there to the 800s for the overall, like, but I'm gonna go with a back to my like 2 and maybe 4, 2 and 3, let's say. And let's close out of this real quick. So now we have this particle. It's working out all right. One thing that you can add technically, this might not be something that you potentially want for water because it wouldn't necessarily work, but let's say you were using this for something more along the lines of like sparks or so. Under the particle update, you can add collision actually. So you can do that there. And then once you compile it and add it to the game, you'll see that it's actually going to hit collision. This would make more sense for, yeah, as I said, something that would actually bounce off the ground. Water generally doesn't bounce that much. But one thing with this, of course, is that this is a lot more expensive. It's having to read the collision of the environment and update the particles based off of that. And so this, out of everything that we'd probably add to this particle, would be the most expensive portion of that. So I am going to go ahead and remove it because, like I said, we're making water. We don't need that kind of look there. So now we have some water still coming on. Let's see, we could potentially play a bit more with the shape and kind of the spawn point as well. I'm going to go back and change this lifetime to a 1 and a 1.5. So mainly because I do see that they're going like way beyond like the ground. So I'm trying to imagine, you know, unless it was like super high up or so, most likely it would not need to be around for that long. So maybe I'll be like a 0.5 and a 1. So this should still allow us to hit the ground no matter what. Yeah, that's making a bit more sense. And now we're also still keeping it overly optimized. So now I can go back here, and since the we've shortened the lifetime, I could probably bump up the amount of particles as well and go a bit higher with it and see if I can get like a crazier density. Let's go and change the particle size one more time. So this maybe I'll take to 1.5. And let's see what it looks like with the character. So it's looking pretty good overall. And I could also change, like, let's say that it's spraying out too much. That's coming from the velocity. If I went to change this, so the min and max is 500, 800. Let's say that I took this down to 200 and 300. Now it's going to come out more along the lines of like that, which might make more sense for like a drain or so. And that's emptying out. Technically you could go even further with that as well, and let's say change it from 100 to 150, 150, not 1500, and now this one's certainly looking a bit more like, you know, almost like just a pipe leaking out water. Probably need to adjust that color a little bit. It's getting slightly too bright, I would say, but it's working well for, you know, what we're looking for. And another thing with this too is right now that the actual like part where it's basically spawning from is a certain shape. So you can see here under shape location, we have it set to sphere. So I can change that from sphere to cylinder, and just, yeah, give it all kinds of different options. There's also like box plane, and you can see that if I actually like control this as well, then it's going to basically, I could place it to basically be like, yeah, a wall, or if you were doing something more along the lines of like a waterfall, that might work out pretty well. So yeah, there we go. But with this, oh, I forgot to change it back to the actual shape that I was wanting. So box plane, I'm going to change it back to sphere, and then I just need to probably bump this down a little bit to like a 4. So that's feeling a bit nicer, and could work for like a pipe on a street or something that's sort of emptying out. And then if I needed to, yeah, make this one bigger as well, let's say that I just make a duplicate of this one, and I'm going to take this right here and just drag that in. So this should now be water system 1. And then what I could do with this one is just have a variant where my spawn location is, or my sphere radius is like a 10. And then let's probably say that my spawn rate might need to go up to something like 500. And there we go. And I could also, right now the cone, so like the exit velocity, I could increase the cone as well, and that would potentially increase the like spread of it spraying outwards. And I think it's slightly too bright, so let me go back over here and just, yeah, dull it down a bit. And you can see like the difference, like this is the brighter one, this is a little bit duller, and it sort of works. Like you also get that like sort of spec response happening there, and overall, yeah, giving a decent water. So yeah, that's about it for this video. This is part 1. The second part, I'm going to be making a waterfall kind of with this sort of method as well, and show how you could potentially set up a very simple waterfall just with Niagara, as well as adding a couple of other features to assist with that. But hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know down below in the comments if you had any questions or so. And yeah, subscribe as well to see future videos coming to the channel. So with that, I will see you in the next one.